announcing it, and before it's even come in, they say that that shows he's rushed out at the last minute, a patchwork of poor ideas. The government says this is all about adapting to the virus.
Helen, thanks so much. Helen Catt there for us.
Wales will enter a new lockdown this evening, with non-essential businesses closing for the second time and people being asked to stay at home.
How will it impact communities on the border with England, where the rules are different? Phil Mackey's been finding out.
It's always been quite hard to see exactly where the border between England and Wales lies. But it's been brought right back into focus by the pandemic. Hay on Wye's on the Welsh side, and normally it would be expecting a busy half-term week with thousands of visitors. Not this year. Non-essential businesses will have to close. Sally Harmon lives in England but works in Wales and thinks it's unfair.
Because winter isn't good here anyway, so it'll just, pull us down even further. And we've all got massive overheads, massive rates. It's just too much.
The irony is that if you live on this side of the border in England, in Herefordshire, then it's seeing some of the lowest infection rates in the UK, and it's a tier 1 area, so the fewest restrictions. Cross the border into Wales, still similarly low infection rates in Powys, but from tonight, effectively, you're back into lockdown. Sean Davis lives barely 50 metres across the English side of the border. He works in Wales, and unlike Sally, he will be able to go into the office because he's a key worker.
We've always gone, we listen to Welsh side, because like the English, if it's a lockdown, there's a lockdown for all of us, because we're close enough that it affects us because we're on the border, like you said. So we won't be listening just to English rules, we listen to the Welsh rules as well.
It's been absolutely stark that you exist on the border, that different rules for people who live 100 yards away from where I live, which is very odd, and now different rules for businesses that are on the other side of the border as well.
Me and my friends will get off at the same platform. We're still close to each other, but then all of a sudden we're not supposed to be either, and it just feels like we're in this weird hyper reality.
The toll of the pandemic is still being felt across the UK. Tonight, Wales will start what's being called a 2-week fire break. Phil Mackey, BBC News, on the border between England and Wales.
So those changes coming in at 6 p.m. tonight.
3 minutes past 9, that means it's time to get a last brief look at the headlines where you are this morning.
Welcome back. When a fire broke out at Chester Zoo almost 2 years ago, staff feared for the future of the creatures that called the destroyed rainforest area their home.
Yeah, you probably get a sense of what some of those creatures are from the images behind us here. Following an outpouring of support and donations from the public, 33 animal species are now settling into the new and improved monsoon forest, set to reopen to the public tomorrow.
So Mairead Smith is there for us this morning. Mairead, it's been very rainy this morning. We've been speaking to you all throughout the morning. We are hoping for some special appearances from the animals.
Good news for you, Naga and Charlie. Some brilliant special appearances this morning. You've just seen the fish. Let's bring you over to the silvery gibbons. And this is the monsoon forest. And this, they've gone. Can't believe it. Typical. Anyway, they've had a brilliant play just before we came this morning. They've been here because this is their new home. They were moved when the fire broke out almost 2 years ago on a damp, drizzly December morning. And the zoo described this as the toughest day in their history. We've caught up with a couple of people who've got this place, the monsoon forest, to where it is today.
When I got the call from one of our keepers, the first thing that went through my head was, oh my word, what are we going to do? And then the biggest concern was for all of the animals that are in my care, in our care, and were they safe? Had they survived the fire?
I just picked up my phone and I had lots of messages from people saying, oh, I'm so sorry what's happening, or it must be so devastating for you. And so I quickly went onto social media, and the first thing that I saw was a video of monsoon forest just up in flames.
And it was a highly sort of traumatic period for myself and all of the staff here at the zoo. It took 3 days before we could get all of the birds out, and it was actually an awful time because it was terrible weather. The alarm system was still sounding here. The roof was gone. And if you can imagine trying to catch free-flying birds in a big building with no roof. It was incredibly worrying. We felt that they might escape.
Essentially what happened was so many people were getting in touch with us and they were saying, we want to donate, we want to help you, what can we do? And actually just sitting there and watching it, we really couldn't believe our eyes. It wasn't something that we expected to happen, and it wasn't really something that the zoo had ever seen before.
Almost 2 years later, we're finally able to reopen Monsoon Forest, and it's a really wonderful feeling.
I've just been walking around it as if it's my first time ever of being in here. I'm just so excited that people are once again going to be able to come through the doors and really enjoy the space and really connect back to wildlife.
Well, typically you can't count on the animals, but you can count on people to turn up when you need them. We've got Amber here. Amber, it's your job to look after the insects, some of the smaller things here that perhaps don't get the attention that those silvery gibbons were expecting a few minutes ago. So what have you done here in the Monsoon Forest?
So we've been working really hard over the last year or so to rebuild, and the last 2 weeks we've put all of our animals back in. So they're all settled in there now.
And it's been a really exciting time, hasn't it? And a nervous time perhaps as well.
It has been a bit nerve-wracking putting the animals back into the house after the fire, but luckily it's all looking good and they're all nice and settled now.
So you've got the job of looking after the little things. Dr. Mark Pilgrim, this is your big project. You're the chief executive here at Chester Zoo. You look after the whole place. This, you hope, will be the new gem.
Absolutely. Good morning. Welcome to Chester Zoo's Monsoon Forest. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Monsoon Forest has always been the jewel in the crown of the Islands project, so to have it back open again and looking so fantastic is just brilliant.
It must have been heartbreaking. The toughest day, you described it 2 years ago when the fire broke out. It's hard to imagine what it was like. What was it like for you?
For me personally, it was really difficult, partly because I was actually doing field conservation work in Madagascar at the time and trying to get an internet connection to find out what was happening. I was seeing some pictures of the fire, making sure everybody was okay, so that was really stressful. But the team here were just fantastic. I mean, we have amazing people at Chester Zoo. They managed the situation, the crisis incredibly well, obviously with emergency services, just amazing what they did. And just in the rebuild, I mean, just putting this back together again, it's just phenomenal.
Better than ever, probably, as well, and thanks to a lot of the money that was raised by your supporters.
Hey, do you know what? I mean, they were just terrific. I mean, people on the day were actually giving us money. Clearly, we had insurance to cover all of this, but we raised so much money, we were able to do some really great conservation projects in Southeast Asia, including actually funding local firefighters, fighting peat swamp forests in. So the money's gone to great use in the fields, and yeah, people have just been so tremendous. And the staff here are amazing. I mean, building a little bit of Indonesian rainforest in Chester takes an enormous amount of skill and work, and I'm just so proud of the people.
And protecting, saving those animals that day and the days that followed, because the roof just wasn't here, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it a week or so later, and it was just devastation in here. So yeah, I mean, to see it now is just phenomenal. Tremendous work.
Well, let's speak to Lee Shears, Cheshire Fire Commander. You must feel so proud of the work that your men and women did to save the animals here, to protect this building as much as possible. This is our first look inside. It's yours as well.
It is my first look inside, yeah. And like you said, we are really proud of the work we did on the day, obviously. There was a lot of damage to the building, but to actually save some of the building, limit the damage and enable it to open again in this way is brilliant. And like you say, it's a fantastic looking building and a fantastic rebuild.
So you must be very proud of yourself.
We are very proud, yes.
Dr. Pilgrim, it's also important to say this opens tomorrow. We don't have masks on, but it is expected, it is required for people who come here to wear masks.
Absolutely, it's a really important thing. So we do open tomorrow. People indoors will be required to wear masks, but really importantly, they have to book in advance online. So I know there'll be a lot of people wanting to come, but you have to book in advance because we have to manage it safely, manage social distancing throughout the whole zoo. So we've been doing that for since March. So yes, please book online. And then there's what we call the welcome team who will keep everybody safe and social distance when they're here.
The most important thing, though, to say is that this place is ready to reopen, and it's thanks to a lot of the support from people who've donated to Chester's Zoo. The idea is that that money helps projects in Southeast Asia, and this is just a little touch of that part of the world right here in Chester. Back to you, Charlie and Naga.
Yeah, well done for staying with the monkeys.
Charlie and Naga.
Yeah, well done for staying with the monkeys a while ago. They just never do what you want them to do at the right time, do they?
They really don't.
How very dare they?
No,
Brilliant.
sadly.
Been brilliant, Mairead. Thank you so much. What a treat to go to the zoo for work, eh?
Yeah, and it looks like it does look like an amazing building there.
Really nice. We are back with you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Now on BBC One, it's time for Rip Off Britain. Have a good day.